Thank you all for being here as we come together to celebrate the Feast of St. Patrick, to honor him for his faith and his good works, as he is an inspiration to us. We have the honor of honoring the friendship between our two great nations. Ireland has been the adopted homeland of St. Patrick. We claim him. As an Italian-American, we claim him too. We all claim St. Patrick. I was telling the Taoiseach earlier that I was speaking to a young gentleman who's just newly here from Turkey, and he told me that his children went to school today wearing the green. So this has been a very unifying feature of our lives in America. If America is the melting pot, St. Patrick certainly was important to the mix, bringing us all together. The first St. Patrick's Day parade, you may wish to know, was in 1737. Taoiseach, Dublin didn't have its first parade until 200 years later. So we're very proud of leading the way, the enthusiasm of the Irish in America. George Washington, commanding soldiers of Irish descent in the Continental Army, gave them a holiday, a day off on March 17th in 1780. It took Ireland until 1903 to give its citizens a day off to honor St. Patrick. So I want you to know how much this means to us. Again, nearly 40 million Americans trace their ancestry back to Ireland, and many, many more claim to be Irish today wearing the green. As a symbol of the enduring friendship between the United States and Ireland, we're honored to be joined by the Taoiseach Brian Cowen. Taoiseach Cowen, this lunch began as a small lunch many years ago with President Reagan and Speaker Tip O'Neill. It was in a small room, probably at one table. Over time, it has grown, and it was enhanced enormously with the idea that the Taoiseach would join the St. Patrick's Day celebration. Grown so much that we're pretty cozy here today. The room is full as it can be. Many more clamoring to claim Irish ancestry, real or imagined. I myself have Irish grandchildren. That's my connection. But I want to welcome all of our friends who are here, and let's give a special welcome to our friends from Northern Ireland as well. I talked about the history of this lunch, its beginning. Let me say here today, sadly, that this is the first St. Patrick's lunch that is not attended by Senator Ted Kennedy. We are honored to be joined by Vicki Kennedy and Patrick Kennedy, who are with us. Thank you. Senator Kennedy said, "We know the future will outlast all of us, but I believe that all of us will live on in the future we make." Thank you for being with us. We promise to honor that heritage. The future is one of great optimism for continued peace in Northern Ireland, and great optimism for lasting friendship, of course, without question, between the United States and Ireland. And so now I have the high privilege, distinct honor, and personal pleasure to introduce the leaders of our country. I do so proudly in the presence of our majority leader, our Democratic leader, Steny Hoyer, our Republican leader, John Boehner, who is with us. We're so proud that the Vice President is with us as well, his granddaughter Finnegan, who's interning. So many members of Congress, St. Patrick has brought Democrats and Republicans together today, and we all join in giving you a most enthusiastic welcome to the Taoiseach, Brian Cowen. Brian? So enthusiastic are we about introducing the Taoiseach that the President wants to join in that welcome as well. A high honor, distinct privilege to present the President of the United States, Barack Obama.
Thank you. Please, everybody be seated. To Speaker Pelosi, distinguished members of the House and Senate, Republican Leader Boehner, Majority Leader Steny Hoyer, my outstanding Vice President and his newest Chief of Staff, to Prime Minister Cowen and the entire Irish delegation, as well as the extraordinary leaders from Ireland and Northern Ireland. It is my privilege to welcome all of you for this wonderful St. Patrick's Day tradition. And Governor O'Malley, thank you for that outstanding rendition of our two national anthems. I had asked if Martin was going to do a rock and roll version. Some of you know he's got a rock band and is in much demand. You know, this tradition, as most of you know, was begun by Tip O'Neill and Ronald Reagan, two men who agreed on their love of all things Irish, including a good scrum. But they also knew how to set aside time just to enjoy one another's company. President Reagan himself said that the two men could be friends after 6 o'clock. And I imagine they also made a midday exception for this luncheon every year. Today's a day we speak with pride of being Irish American, whether we actually are or not. I am pleased to say that I can actually get away with it. And I've got Taoiseach here to vouch for me. Prime Minister Cowen was born in County Offaly, and I can trace my ancestry on my mother's side there as well. I believe it was my great-great-great-great-great-grandfather. This is true. He was a bootmaker, if I'm not mistaken. Someone actually discovered my Irish lineage when I was running for president, and my first thought was, why didn't anybody discover this when I was running for office in Chicago? You know, I would have gotten here sooner. I used to put the apostrophe after the O, but that did not work. So, it is nice to have a little Irish blood today. It is, after all, a day to celebrate and give thanks for the profound and enduring relationship between Ireland and America. And it's also a day to thank the Irish people for all that they've done for America. Few nations so small have had such an enormous impact on another. They came to our shores in waves, by choice as well as by necessity, building new lives even as they were building a new nation, enriching our heritage, enriching our culture in their own way. And in so doing, alongside so many others who sought a better life in America, they forged a better future for all of us. But the truth is, they weren't always welcomed. There were times where the Irish were caricatured and stereotyped and cursed at and blamed for society's ills. So naturally, it was a good fit for them to go into politics. Made sense. When the fictional Mayor Skeffington of Edwin O'Connor's The Last Hurrah spoke of his life as an Irish American, he said, "When I began, it was long ago and the situation around here was a bit different. I had no education to speak of, a good many roads were closed to our people, and politics seemed the easiest way out." Today, of course, we all feel the heavy absence of one of our greatest Irish Americans, a man who loved this day so much, a man who I believe is still watching this body closely, particularly this week, and that is our beloved Ted Kennedy. And I'm so grateful that Vicki and Patrick are here. Thank you for your presence. I confess that one of my fondest memories of Teddy has been on my mind lately. It's one that I shared before. Just a few years ago, on St. Patrick's Day, so it'd probably be maybe 5 years ago when I had just gotten to the Senate, Teddy cornered me on the Senate floor for my support on a piece of legislation. And I told him, you've got my vote, Teddy, but I got to tell you, this is not looking good. I do not think this thing is going to fly. But it did, with votes to spare. And so I grabbed Teddy, pulled him aside. I said, how'd you pull that off? And he just patted me on the back and he said, luck of the Irish. And it's nice when the luck of the Irish can bring to the Senate and to Congress such an extraordinary leader as Ted Kennedy. I think it's a little providence as well as a little luck. It's also nice when the luck of the Irish can bring us all together, Republicans and Democrats. That was one of Teddy's talents. Even as he waged epic and unyielding battles in this building, he too was a believer that we were all friends after 6 o'clock. And more importantly, he was a believer in building consensus, in forging compromise, in the idea that the only way that we can accomplish the work of the American people is to work together. And one of the greatest testaments to his life and his work, I think, was that so many of his colleagues, past and present, Republican and Democrats, came forward to honor him in similar terms. And that work, the work of setting aside old differences and softening hardened positions, taking the tough steps to do what's right in the long run over what's easy in the moment, has also paid dividends in terms of the remarkable progress that we've seen in Northern Ireland, particularly in recent months. And so I want to salute First Minister Peter Robinson and Deputy First Minister Martin McGuinness for their outstanding leadership, their continuing example. We are grateful to them. Thank you. It is such leadership that keeps me convinced that our best days for this legislative body, for this nation, for Ireland, for Northern Ireland, and for the friendship between our peoples, those best days are still ahead. So, Taoiseach, I thank you and your lovely wife for coming. To you and to the people of Ireland, America is grateful for our shared past, hopeful for our common future, and I assure you we will be a faithful partner in the work of progress and prosperity and a just and lasting peace. Happy St. Patrick's Day to all of you, and with that, please welcome the Prime Minister of Ireland, Brian Cowen.
Well, thank you, Madam Speaker, Mr. President, Mr. Vice President, Chairman Neil, members of Congress, Governor O'Malley, First Minister Peter Robinson, Deputy First Minister Martin McGuinness, Count Corley Seamus Kirk, Speaker William Hay of the Northern Ireland Assembly, Secretary of State for Northern Ireland Sean Woodward, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. It's a great pleasure indeed to return here to Capitol Hill to celebrate St. Patrick's Day. I've had my breakfast with the Vice President, I've had a pre-lunch discussion with the President, and now the Madam Speaker has given us a wonderful meal here, and we really are grateful, Madam Speaker, for your kind hospitality today. We heard that it was a quiet week for business on the Hill this week, so we thought it was a good time to visit. We're deeply honoured, Madam Speaker, by your kind hospitality and your wonderfully warm welcome. You honour our country and our people. The friendship between our two peoples is a treasure beyond price, and I am delighted to be here to renew it once more on our National Day. Madam Speaker, since we gathered last year, both our countries have been faced with the greatest global economic and financial challenges of our time. In Ireland, we've had to take difficult but necessary decisions. We've worked hard to stabilise our public finances, to repair our banking system, to improve our competitiveness, and to build a new smart economy. These are tough times for all our people, but we are fighting our way back to economic recovery and renewed growth. And despite all the difficulties we have faced, I am confident that we will look forward and can look forward to a better future. If I may echo the words of President Obama, as we now set about generating new jobs and building for the future, we need to find common solutions to common problems. In many areas, in business, in science, in research, in green technology, in education, and in tourism, we are forging those solutions, often in very productive partnerships with institutions and businesses across the United States. Our friendship, therefore, is rooted in a common past, but I firmly believe it will also be a cornerstone of our common future of peace and prosperity. Madam Speaker, it would be impossible to stand here in this place on this day without thinking of your most distinguished colleague and Ireland's proud son, our departed friend, Senator Ted Kennedy. And I'm delighted that Vicky and Patrick can join with us today to continue the wonderful legacy of his presence over many years of this occasion. We miss him, we remember him today and every day. We pray for his soul and we pray for his family as they mourn his loss. Ted's legacy reaches far and wide across this nation and around the globe. But we need look no further than Northern Ireland to find evidence of one of his greatest contributions of all to the cause of peace. I'm glad to be joined here in the capital by the First and Deputy First Ministers of Northern Ireland, Peter Robinson and Martin McGuinness. Last week, the Northern Ireland Assembly voted to transfer policing and justice powers from London to the power-sharing administration in Belfast from next month. It was a truly historic moment, which will see for the first time those powers being exercised by an administration in Northern Ireland with full cross-community support. It is the final piece of the jigsaw of peace that we have worked so hard to put in place with so many here with us today. And it is the clearest possible signal that violence has no place in the future of Ireland. The will of the people, both North and South, to live in peace will prevail. We applaud the leaders of Northern Ireland for the leadership which they have shown. We thank the leaders and people of the United States for all the support you have given in the cause of peace in Ireland. By the way, the Speaker may be interested to know that the vote in the Assembly was 88-17. Not bad majority for people who have had a long history of disagreement, so you can look forward to your discussion. Madam Speaker, I recall today the service given to this country by an Irish immigrant, Charles Thompson, a native of Mahara in County Derry, who served the American people as Secretary of Congress and later designed the Great Seal of the United States. Not far from here, in the chamber of the House of Representatives, the words of that seal are inscribed: "A pluribus unum," out of many, one. Another distinguished leader, John Hume, so well known and loved by many in this Congress, often recalled the power of those words in the context of the future of our island, one which respected difference based on the values espoused by your founding fathers. So as we contemplate the great challenges of today, and as we come together in this great bastion of freedom and democracy, it is important to reflect on the fact that democracy has triumphed over hatred and division in Ireland. Whatever trials and tribulations we face as political leaders, we are tremendously fortunate to serve as elected representatives of the people in the democratic institutions of the United States and of Ireland, North and South. I am personally tremendously honoured to be your guest here on Capitol Hill on St. Patrick's Day. On behalf of all the people of Ireland, I wish the Speaker, your colleagues in Congress, President Obama and Vice President Joe Biden, and all of the people of the United States, Banach Dí Lá Éile Fóric. A very happy St. Patrick's Day to you all. Thank you very much.